I'm Bill McWilliam, president of Cascadero Copper, CCD on the TSX Venture Exchange. Cesium is one of the world's rarest metals with a growing industrial demand. Drilling is underway on our Tehran property in Argentina to prove up a cesium resource. Cascadero's patent-pending leach process has the potential to make Cascadero the lowest cost supplier of cesium in the world. Visit our website, cascadero.com, or phone us at 604-924-5504.
You're listening to HowStreet.com radio, available online at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. Welcome to HowStreet.com radio, the online source for market opinions. Here is Jim Goddard.
My guest is Chris Vermeulen from TheTechnicalTraders.com. Welcome back to the show, Chris.
Thanks for having me, Jim.
The equity markets, what do they look like for you right now? It's kind of mixed where the NASDAQ is down, the Dow is up, and we also have the S&P down a bit. Yeah,
well, the markets have had a really nice run since the more or less the big sell-off we saw in early February. And back down when the market was showing extreme oversold levels, the volatility index was screaming high. We posted an article talking about how the next cycle high should happen somewhere between March 15th, March 21st, and the NASDAQ should be somewhere up around the 7,200 area. And that's what we've pretty much seen since then. And we're kind of there. We're at March 13th. We've only got 2 more days potentially before the market tops out, and we start to see a bit more of a downward swing as the market digests this recent move. You know, it's been a 1,000-point move in the NASDAQ, and the markets they're showing mixed signals here. We're seeing some sectors up, other sectors down, and that's just simply because the market's overextended. The smart money is looking for where something is undervalued, where they can move their money into that has some more upside, and they're scaling out of some of the overbought, overextended markets like tech and things like that. So it's just a mixed market as we kind of come to a short-term topping time in the market.
Now, I know a lot of people will blame politics for the changes in the market. However, you probably think it's just a technical cycle and would have happened anyway.
Yeah, that's the way I feel. I know for sure some of the news and the economic data that comes out causes the moves and what the government's doing, new policies. But when you look at the charts, it's funny because sometimes you see these beautiful setups and it happens to be just before some big type of news event that's going to happen, whether it's a Fed meeting or something like that, or you see these patterns form, and then suddenly the news comes out and you see that move come to fruition, and it actually happens, and everybody jumps on and says, yeah, that was a news-based move. Well, I look at it and I say, well, the markets were set up for it. They were pretty much telling us that here's a bullish situation or a bearish situation, and it's just waiting the breakout, and then the news triggers it. But really, the way I see it is the market sees that news already coming, it's primed and ready, and then the news event just is kind of like the story that kind of covers it all up, it seems. But so I'm very much so technical based, but there's no doubt the new policies coming in are moving the markets. But if you're following the money and you're following the momentum, the market seems to lead most news events and what's happening, and so that's kind of where I'm at.
Do you think humans like to put cause and effect together all the time? Oh, there's a comet, so it must have caused the markets to go down.
Yeah, I hear it all the time. Every time there's certain people who are really focused on specific commodities. There's a ton of gold traders, and when gold has it's not even a big move. It moves 0.75% or 1% one day to the upside or to the downside. Usually to the downside, people are bitching and griping. Same with energy traders. You've got some people who are so focused on just trading one thing, which I'm not a fan of just trading one thing. I think it limits what you're doing. But when you focus on one thing, every single tick you think is you start overthinking and you think everything's manipulated, and so there are a lot of people that always think that there's a scam going on or there's manipulation, it's selling off, and you know what, maybe there is, but there's absolutely there's not a whole lot you can do to prove it. It's not going to stop. So you just have to follow the markets, follow the analysis, and have very strict, trading limit stops, targets, and you've got to manage your money very well. So I'm not a fan of, I don't blame the markets, and I always have a story for it. I just, when something goes in my way or goes against me, it's like, okay, well, that one didn't work, and I'll move on to the next one. It's just, if you let that stuff get to you, you will go insane.
So taking a look at Canadian equities, how are they going to do?
Well, the Canadian equities, I've got, my cycle analysis shows we should be having a nice upswing here over the next couple of weeks. And, that we need to see a breakout here from the recent highs a couple of weeks ago, but more or less, it's pointing to a lower dollar, stronger commodities, because the Toronto Stock Exchange moves very much so with crude oil and gold in the most part, and I think we're very close to a strong commodity move, and that's what the TSX kind of cycle analysis is pointing to. And we should see the TSX have a nice rally and push up to probably new highs this year before the year's over, and that usually leads the U.S. equities market in terms of a stock market top. And when it's rallying and moving to new highs, and then U.S. markets are not, that's a warning sign that it looks like the commodity move is in place. People want physical assets, not just paper assets. And then usually the U.S. equities markets roll over and start to slide.
We'll have more with Chris Vermeulen right after the break.
Cypress Development Corp's flagship lithium project is located just east of Albemarle's Silver Peak mine in the heart of Clayton Valley, Nevada. A 12-hole exploration drill program for lithium-enriched claystone on Cypress's 100% controlled properties is now underway. Cypress Development Corp trades on the TSX Venture Exchange, symbol CYP, the Pink's CYDVF, and on Frankfurt's C1Z1. For more information, please visit our website, cypressdevelopmentcorp.com.
Glance Technologies owns and operates Glance Pay, a disruptive mobile payment technology now live in 16 cities in Canada and about to launch in the US. With revenues up 664% in the last quarter, Glance Technologies has the potential to be a worldwide leader in an industry projected to grow to $1.3 trillion in 3 years. Glance Technologies stock symbols are GLNFF in the US and GET in Canada. Find out more at glancepay.com.
Welcome back. We're speaking with Chris Vermeulen. Chris, what's your outlook on the U.S. dollar and conversely the Canadian dollar?
Well, the U.S. dollar here it's in a downtrend. It's been trending down since more or less late 2016. So it's been down for quite a while here, and at this point, it's forming a bearish formation. It's a multi-month bearish formation. The last high back in November, we've had this big downward move, and now we've been chopping around since more or less late January, kind of forming this bear flag, which is considered to be a continuation pattern. And because the previous trend was down, we could very much see a pretty strong fall in the U.S. dollar over the next probably 1 to 3 months. And if that happens, that's going to be the catalyst that's really going to start to send gold, break gold out of its bear market. I think it's got the potential. Gold miners and silver miners, they could all kind of really take off along with silver and crude oil. So a lot of it's hinging on the U.S. dollar and this bearish formation that it's holding. But once it breaks, it's going to be look out below.
About silver, how do you expect it to do?
Well, silver, if you look at the really long-term chart of silver and look at the weekly chart and go back to 2008, you can see it's formed a very similar formation that silver formed back in late 2009 to kind of mid 2010. And we're seeing a very similar type of formation like this again, where it's in a big kind of flat consolidation, and the volume slowly picking up. And it's a very large pattern, and the last time it had this pattern and broke out, we saw silver in 2010 go from more or less $18 an ounce all the way up to $49 an ounce. So I really like the launch pad that silver is making. It's got a beautiful chart, and it's just a matter of time, I think, before we see some type of news event, some catalyst that is going to, kind of tip the markets and get everyone bearish on stocks, and things start to sell off, and we usually see precious metals perform really well when that fear kicks in, and we can see these charts explode higher. So silver, out of all of them, long term is my favorite setup when it comes to precious metals.
Why does silver do so well when there's a breakout?
Well, silver is very much so a speculative metal, and because it's affordable, people are kind of naturally going to buy something that's less money per share or per ounce, which it really doesn't make much of a difference. I find it amazing how nobody wants to trade a $100 or $80 stock. In the grand scheme of things, it makes no difference when you buy $10,000 of a $100 stock and you only have a few shares versus buying thousands of shares of a $2 stock. If they move 10%, it's the same move. So though most people gravitate towards cheaper things, and that's one reason why silver is definitely kind of has a lot more power behind it, because a lot more people, I think, follow it. It's a speculative play, and a lot of people pile a lot of money in and out of it and trade it more often, and it moves more on a percentage basis, typically. So that's why a lot of people kind of go towards it, and when it breaks out, it's a fairly thin traded market, so it can move very quickly.
Does it make it more susceptible to manipulation because of that?
Probably, but the trends in silver, they move really fast. You need to be a pretty quick trader in silver, because they can have some huge up days, and they can reverse and give it all back, the next day or over a couple of days later. So it is a fast moving. I don't know if you'd really say it's manipulation. I just think the market's a little thinner, so when people do want to sell or buy, it just moves faster.
Oh. Well, I was just thinking of the Hunt brothers back in the 70s when they tried to corner silver.
Yeah. Well, anything can be manipulated, really. It just depends. There's a lot of ways to do it. I just don't see it being completely blatant and screwing everyone over. To me, it's just, some big firms need to get in, and they play a couple little tricks to move things around here and there, but to manipulate something to move, 50 or 100% to these huge moves, I don't really see that being the case.
We'll have more with Chris Vermeulen right after this.
Hi, I'm Douglas Mason, President and CEO of Magnum Gold Corp. Inc., MGI on the TSX Venture Exchange. A 2015 drill program on the LH property intersected high-grade gold, including 16.9 meters of 13.58 grams and 11 meters of 20.66 grams per ton gold. A follow-up drill program is planned to further evaluate previously identified subsurface high-grade gold mineralization. Please visit our website at magnumgoldcorp.com.
Don't miss out. Stay informed. Receive the HowStreet.com weekly recap with thought-provoking podcasts, radio, and articles delivered to your inbox. Sign up for the HowStreet.com weekly recap on our homepage at HowStreet.com.
Welcome back. We're speaking with Chris Vermeulen. Chris, the oil market has remained pretty strong over the winter when usually it takes a big dive. It never did that over the past trading cycle. What do you expect to happen with crude now?
Well, right now, crude's in a holding pattern. It's creating a bullish kind of formation. You could say it's a bullish pennant formation. And if it breaks to the downside, like right now, it's stuck in a bullish formation. So the odds are at this point the trend is going to continue to go up. The markets, when you're trading, the key is to trade with the trend, because the odds are the trend is going to continue, then it is going to reverse and go the opposite direction. So right now, it's a big consolidation pattern. We still may have a few more weeks of it trading sideways here. And when it breaks out of this pattern, more or less, it would probably have to break somewhere up around $63 per barrel would be an early warning sign that it's breaking to the upside and could have a nice run back up to 66 and change or higher. if it closes below more or less $60 per barrel, that to me would be a bearish sign, and we could see it actually back down at $56 per barrel. So it's in this consolidation. The odds are pointing to higher prices, and we're just kind of waiting to see if we're going to get a break to the up or to the downside, and it'll have some follow through behind it based on the weekly chart.
Now, the driving season will start shortly for most of North America. Is that a big factor anymore, considering with fracking they can literally almost turn and turn off the taps?
Yeah, I don't really see it being too much of a game changer. When crude oil was trading, above $85 or up at the 100+ mark, what crude oil did, and depending on the season, definitely had a lot more correlation to what was going on. They would affect each other dramatically. But at this point, I think the world's just kind of humming away at its own pace, and I don't see making a huge difference in the price, because you're right. A couple flicks of a switch and turn some big gauges or dials, whatever, and they can turn the fracking systems right back on. So the market now is set up that if crude oil has a big rally in price, everybody's going to be, opening their valves and gates and pumping oil, and probably fizzle it out. But there will be a multi-month delay on that. But I mean, the market, the oil markets are different than they were, 5-10 years ago. Everybody's just waiting to pounce and waiting for a rally in oil so they can quickly produce and sell it at a premium, and that will kill the price. Maybe, later this year. If we do get this big rally up into the 70s, with crude oil and the dollar breaks down, we could see all those fracking, we could see everybody start pumping oil like crazy. And you could say that's just, that's what's forced the market to roll over later this year, and crude oil crashes back down. But more or less, I kind of see that happening already, going forward.
Chris, anything else you want to tell us this week?
I think we kind of covered it. I think the key takeaway here is this week and next week, I think equities are starting to get exhausted. They should probably top out a little bit and probably fade back down. And I think we could see the dollar fade lower, and we could see precious metals and mining stocks start to pick up the pace here a little bit and drift higher as kind of a safe haven play. And I think natural gas is on the verge here. In the next couple of days, we've got cycles showing that it should have a couple big green up bars here. So, really, that's about it at this point. Until the equities market tops out and kind of resets over the next couple of weeks, I think the markets are going to be chopping around a bit here.
Chris, thank you so much for speaking with us.
Hey, always a pleasure, Jim. Thanks for having me on the show.
My guest has been Chris Vermeulen from the technicaltraders.com. You're listening to HowStreet.com radio. Find us on Twitter at HowStreet. Our popular YouTube channel is Talk Digital Network. Questions for the show or our guests can be sent to info@HowStreet.com. I'm Jim Goddard. Thanks for listening.
Comments made on HowStreet.com radio are an expression of opinion only and should not be construed in any matter whatsoever as recommendations to buy or sell any financial instrument at any time. Available online at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. HowStreet.com radio is a production of HowStreet Media Incorporated.